So, Gudrun, how can I manifest the funds? You've done, okay, let's talk about manifestation. So, what do I know from what you've told me? Bearing in mind, this is the first conversation we've ever had. So, I'm just going to pull from what I've heard you share, which is one, it has worked for you before. You have manifested a lump sum of cash so that you do know that you can do it. And even though you've studied Bob Proctor and who else was it that you said? Tony Robbins and Tony Robbins, you keep finding this stagnancy and this stuckness, okay? Especially within this last year. So what's happening as consciousness is shifting, and a lot of people, and I will answer your question clearly, but I'm going to speak to your questions around the questions as well, because I think it's going to be helpful. So what's been happening, because consciousness has been shifting from 2020 radically to 2027, and we're going into this bridge year, it's that any lack of alignment is being really mirrored back to us in a very, very dramatic way. And so when we stick at this kind of mindset level of, okay, I'm going to try and think positively, but we're not actually creating a cellular shift in the body, we're still actually in incongruence. And so life wants us to heal. Life is never punishing us, right? If there's a lack of alignment or there's something there, life's never like, oh, I don't want you to get the things. It's just saying, I'm going to create stagnation so you really look at this, right? And so what I want you to start reflecting on in this year, because sometimes when we're in a season of stagnation, and I've experienced this as well, we can get into this energy of frustration, right? And then it's like we see lack everywhere and we feel extremely frustrated. And so everything that we start creating from is from this place of frustration, is from this place of lack, right? And so it's like, what can start off as one dip or one thing that doesn't go our way, because we start thinking from that event, right? Maybe it was a business thing that we tried or something else that we tried, then we can start kind of creating this dip and we expand it, right? So that's the first thing. I think it will be helpful for you to reflect on the last year, because the truth is, even stagnation is productive if you learn the lesson from it. Everything in our life, a breakup is productive, stagnation is productive, financial loss is productive. If we can look inside us to how we are a match to that and we can clean that up, right, then that was exactly what you needed. It was perfect, right? So the question of how to manifest the funds, and I suppose this is a question that a lot of people have about these type of things. So there are a lot of actually Bob Proctor exercises that I would do at the beginning, because at the beginning I was really in a place where it was like, I know the training I want to do, I know the business that I want to run, and I know that there's a gap between my knowledge base and what I need to know to be able to run this, right? And I didn't come from a trust fund like most of us, right? So I had to find the money myself. Now, there's this one exercise. I wonder if I've got the book here. If you studied Bob Proctor, who's heard of the 333 exercise? Melanie, Anita, you will have heard it, but let's have a quick refresh. Now we're on this. Yeah, cool. I love that, Anita. And actually, Anita, from reading your chat comment, which I love, I think this story is going to be great for you. Who's done the 333 with me? Just let me know in the chat. Or if it's new for everyone, then we can just go from it from kind of the ground up. I'm going to get the book. I think I've got this here. Okay, when you move house, it's a whole thing finding stuff. We've just moved and I barely know where anything is, so I'm very happy that I found it. Okay, Anita's done the 333. No one else has. Melanie, I'm sure you've done the 333 with me. But let me find it. And I'm actually going to read bits of it to you guys because we're recording this, so I think it will be a good teaching moment for everyone. Right.
I'm driving, Hannah, so I'm not responding.
Ah, but you've done it with me, haven't you?
Thing. Yeah, I have.
I was going to say, let me find it in this. It's a good reminder for everyone because in any single moment, we can think about the lack that exists in our life, or we can think about creating what we want. And actually, Melanie is here and she sent me my favorite story that I've probably heard this year. That's not even an exaggeration. So good. And it was about, looking at her account and feeling lack and then choosing abundance and a massive sale coming in from nowhere. And so if we see our account going down and we get scared, and we start thinking from that account going down, then what's going to happen is your account is going to keep going down. However, if you're able to see your account going down and still anchor into alignment, into that feeling of abundance, because Anita, that's in response to you, into the feeling of everything that you've created this year, then life has to respond to that because life's always responding to us, right? So that's the big thing to remember. And it's like I've told this story a bazillion times as I find this 333 thing. Boom, got it. I've told this story a million times, anchoring into that I'm actually leveling up because it's like this is the thing you've got to decide, you've got to realize. Everything in life is information, it's data. So life presents data, and data could be the last year is being stagnant. The data could be that bank account is going down. You get to decide what that means. And I know it's so easy to say because when we're in the moment of it, it's like, I don't want it to go down. Bank account down is bad. Something that I always tell myself is down is on the way to up, right? So, Anita, I feel you because in this moment, we're preparing to move to Dubai. I'm shutting my Spanish business. You've got to pay so much money to shut your business in Spain. Oh my God, I'm losing all of this money. That's not a helpful story for me to be in because I'm going to start getting more bills. I'm going to vibrationally just be a beacon of bills, right? Or I can just be like, okay, I'm so happy and grateful to pay this. So that's what and that's not a big move for me right now, but it's like, you've got to remember you choose. So Anita, if you decide down is on the way to up, if you decide that this is part of your up level, if you decide you needed this experience to shift your relationship with money going down, that's going to give you so much more expansion, that's what it's going to be, right? What have we got in the chat? Yeah, anchoring into, I've been Joe Dispensering a lot. Yeah, exactly. So you're getting into that feeling and you're getting into that trust. And it's also the little caveat that I want to say here is that for you, Anita, it's making sure that we kind of get out of any need of timeline for when it goes up. Because let's say it doesn't go up by the end of the month and then your brain goes, oh, it doesn't work. We just want to make sure that your gauge for failure is wide open so that we can kind of stay in those sensations. So a lot of it is, yes, we want to be clearing patterns from the body. And I've spoken a lot to that, and that is extremely effective. And also the power of who we're being in every single moment is huge, right? And so the problem with stagnation or dips is that we, because I include myself within this, start thinking from it. And then the dip becomes the normal. And then that becomes stagnation. And then stagnation is what you're living, right? And so even within the stagnation, even within the dip, we've got to find gratitude. Because the second that there's lack in our vibration, it's got to show up in our life, basically. Right? And so even, money shouldn't be going down, that's lack. It's so like, do you know what I mean? It's so like annoying because it's so pernickety. It's like, I wish the universe was like, come on, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Give it to me. You know what I mean? But it's so precise. But this is the beauty because that's part of mastery. But I love the 333 story because I've used this to manifest loads and loads of crazy things. And so like one of the examples was when I made six figures, 180,000, and then we moved into a property that, was basically a six-figure yearly, not including how the upkeep. Like the upkeep was about 2,000 a month because we had gardeners, we had an acre, like it was almost like a hotel property, right? And we lived there for 2 years, right? And so to be able to get into that, I 333'd it. Like I literally wasn't available for my savings to go down, which meant I had to make money. I wasn't available for, and I mean down a little bit, but I mean, I wasn't available for them to be gone. That's what I'm saying, right? But at the beginning, I didn't have a cushion to work from. So it was just about how can I get the money to pump it in. And so what I love about these moments, Gudrun, is literally training you for the future. Like I'm so grateful that I started at such a low number because the amount of the amount of resolution that I have within me is, if I'd started it being cushy and I wouldn't have to be like, getting the cash in to pay for things, I probably wouldn't have developed my level of problem solving and my ability to hold a vibration that is very contradictory to what life is showing me. I'm very, very grateful for that. And so this story is something that really has helped me. And when I've hit a wall in the business, I always come back to this. So basically, this is a Bob Proctor story. I'm not going to read it all because some of you guys have heard it, but it's a Bob Proctor story. It's actually about 3 Bobs, so it's really confusing. Everyone in this story is, for whatever reason, called Bob, which is actually humorous because on my mailing list, I was really lazy, so I signed up for an event for myself because I want to get the emails to check they all go. I put Bob because I couldn't be bothered to write Hannah, and now I keep getting emails from me calling myself Bob. I don't know why I did it. Why did I do that? Anyway, so Bob Proctor basically went to an event with Bob Templeton and another Bob. And when he went to that event, synchronistically, what happened was there was a massive hurricane. And this hurricane created millions and millions in damage, but not just in damage of buildings that are kind of commercial, people's homes, right? A lot of people lost their homes. This was in Canada. And I say coincidentally because everything's orchestrated, right? And even bad things are good. And so even if you hear that start of the story, Bob Proctor had, I'm going to tell this in Hannah's version, Bob Proctor had an event and there was a massive hurricane, you might think to yourself, oh my God, that's terrible, right? But the work that we do is deciding that everything is good. And the least good that it seems on the surface, the more good it is actually underneath. And I think that this story is a really good example of it. So he sees that that there's been this hurricane, there's all of this destruction, but he goes and he does the event anyway, which shows, when you say that you're going to do something, you don't do it. You don't know what you're missing. And mind makes us not do things that we know that we should do so often, right? So they all turned up to the event and Bob Proctor basically talked about the laws. Now, there was one law that really fascinated the 2 other Bobs that worked at a radio station, and it was the law of polarity. And so he basically said, for every reason that you cannot do something, so let's say I cannot gather the funds, I cannot build the business, I cannot for every reason that your mind says that you cannot do something, there exists a way that you can. And so if you can think of 20 million reasons, or at least 20 reasons for why it's not possible, that means that there's 20 ways in which it is. And so the Bobs that worked at the radio station, they heard that and they thought, that's interesting. And a desire appeared. Remember, life wanting to be expressed is simply desire. That's what desire is. Desire is life wanting to be expressed. And so the 2 Bobs from the radio station, they saw all of this destruction and they had a desire in their hearts to generate the money fast, to basically pay for all these people's and homes to be rebuilt. The next day, Bob Templeton, who ran a radio station, not a big radio station, a local radio station near Toronto, Canada, turned up to the radio station and he called everyone into a meeting and he said, I've got an idea. I think we should raise 3 million 3 days from now in 3 hours. And so as you can imagine, everyone in the meeting said, what? No, that's impossible. We're only a local radio station. We're so small. We don't know that many people. How is this going to happen? Right, does this not sound familiar? That's what you're saying, Gudrun. Your mind's like, it's presenting all of these reasons that you can't. And so, Bob Templeton called in Bob Proctor and the other Bob, I can't remember why the other Bob was involved. I just know that there were 3, okay? And it's not an important part of the story. Okay, I'm glad, Lauren, and I'll come to your share in a second, right? So they all collect in this room. They say, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do the 3-3-3 exercise. And what the 333 exercise means is that I'm going to draw a T shape. Let's see if I can draw this somewhere so you guys can see it. So you know what I'm talking about. It'd be helpful if I had a pen here, but I don't. So we'll use this. This is what I mean by a T shape, okay? Right? Oh, it's blurred it. There you go. And on one side of the table, they've written reasons. Oh God, I'm going to write this like a doctor. You know, doctors always write terribly. Do you ever get a doctor's note and you think to yourself, no clue? But anyway, one side, reasons I can't, or reasons we can't, they would have put. And then on the other side, they put ways we can. So, can you see that? And Bob Templeton, who's the guy leading this radio station at this time, says, now, in this team, we've not got time or we've not got space for reasons I can't or we can't. So we put a massive X on that side. Can you see that? A massive X. There's no space for reasons. And they said, what we're going to do is we're going to stay here. I love this part of this story because how often do we say, oh, I'm going to do the work until I'm distracted? I'm going to do this exercise until I don't feel good doing it, or my dog needs a wee, or whatever happens. For me, it's regularly my dog's needing a wee. But they stayed at the meeting until they came up with a solution. And so obviously one team member starts to put up his hand and says, well, I don't think this is possible because of da-da-da-da-da. And he says, actually, I'm going to take this one step further. Every time your mind gives you a reason that you can't, you're just going to shout the word next. And so to begin with, people kept making excuses, and one person that was kind of getting the idea of it would say next. And then finally, every time an excuse came up, the whole team would be in it. There's this training, there's this shift in the way that they're thinking, and they're shouting next, right? So reasons that I can't, next. And so they started collecting ways that they can. And they made a decision. They're like, what we're going to do is we're going to do a 3-hour radio marathon. And we're going to collaborate with radio stations all over Canada. And so basically, what I love about time urgency sometimes, and I know that this is controversial, but if it's not urgent, people don't tend to do it. The thing is, like, how long it takes us to get to a goal is usually how long we give ourselves. We fill the space given. It's a normal thing that we do. It's if we say, oh, well, we've got 5 years to if they'd said let's do 3 million in 5 years, they'd all probably go home. Do you know what I mean? Have a nap. And it's kind of like you go into inaction. So what was really important about this was that they said in 3 days' time. So the second that they decided, what they started doing was mobilizing the phones, right? They're calling everyone. Anyway, long story short, guess what fucking happened? A tiny radio station in Canada made 3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from there. Exactly. Right? Now, what's beautiful about this is that so many of us are frightened that we're giving too much, that we're doing too much. But a law of the universe is what you give has to come back to you, even if it doesn't come back in the way that you gave it, right? So even if you've been doing these trainings, Gudrun, and you haven't yet seen the results, the verdict's still out. There's still time to gather the results, right, when we get back on track. And so what's very cool about this Benjamin Templeton is that obviously he gave those 3 million away. He didn't keep them, but he became famous afterwards for this. His story was included in Chicken Soup for the Soul. I don't know if you guys have read that book. And so from then he started getting hired for companies. He made money from, all of these different things. And so he was compensated eventually hugely, vastly financially. And so the laws of opposites tells us for every reason that you can think of for you not being able to have something, there is a way. Be the person that thinks about the ways and doesn't think about the reasons not. That's the summation of that share. And I'm going to check the chat.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. This massively resonates. I haven't worked for over 4 years because I've been caring for my daughter throughout her cancer treatment. Yeah, of course, Lauren. We've had so much financial support and it's been very difficult. I struggled to shift the feeling of lack and want to make money to invest in myself as much as I want and have my own business helping others, starting from close to zero. I feel like you're answering this as I'm writing it anyway. My questions are disappearing. Yeah. And it's like, and it's also, Lauren, like, forgive yourself, and for everyone that hears this, forgive yourself for where you're at. Not that you need forgiveness. It's like your daughter has had cancer, and that has been an intense process in itself. And that will be something that will bear fruits if you believe that it will bear fruits. I mean, firstly, you're out of that process. Okay. So obviously, I'm sure you're very grateful for that. But who you will have become through those 4 years is an invaluable pool of information and knowledge, which means the season of business that you go into, you're going to have something unique that not everyone has. It was like for me, 7 years caring for mom. I didn't really make money in that time. I was hippieing around. But like that 7 years is what led to the acceleration. Without those 7 years, I would have just been a carbon copy coach. I would have just been someone coming in, and speaking to stuff without real embodiment of something that's real human and ultimately hard. So what you've gone through is what we call the fertile void in business. So it means in business, maybe there was not growth externally, but that does not mean that it was not fertile. It was hugely fertile, hugely fertile, right? And so now you're coming into this season of business. So your gift for yourself, Lauren, is that just make sure, and you've probably got this from what I've said already, you don't think from the last 4 years in terms of business. Because then you're going to be thinking, but I've only made this amount in 4 years. Why is now different? And so you're going to cap and you're going to limit your results from what you've experienced in the last 4 years. So you need to give yourself this blank slate, right? I'm so grateful for the last 4 years. I know that they were hard. I know that I probably felt angry and resentful because it doesn't feel fair that it's a child, and all of those things that will have come up for you undoubtedly, right? But even if you can't be grateful for that event, can you be grateful for what it's taught you? Find something within it that you can attach gratitude to, even if it's not the whole situation, because what that's going to do is it's going to liberate you from it. You get to decide, like we were talking about, the meaning that we add to life. That's our choice. So you get to decide, this was the best thing that ever happened to us. My life is better because of this. Her life is better because of this, right? I know that these are really hard things to think. And I know that it's like so easy for me to say on this call, and then the actual experience of it is the actual experience of it, right? But you're coming into this new season. You've never lived a season like this because you've never been the woman that you are today. And you've also got so much training behind you, Lauren, with Chris and, everything that you've done in that shamanic field, right? So you're equipped, you're resourced, right? And now it's just leveraging all of that resourcedness that you've got through your own experience, but also through actually you're trained, okay? And not everyone online is trained. I feel like I have to say that, but you guys have probably noticed, right? Not everyone online is trained, so you're in a great place. And that's what I want you to start convincing yourself of. I'm in a fantastic place. I've never been the woman that I am today. Look how many years of training I've got. Write down, I used to do this at the beginning. I would write down all the people's lives that I'd helped, because my self-esteem was really low at the beginning. I was like, well, who the fuck am I? Right? So I'd write down so Anita, for you, it'd be like, how many houses you've sold, how many amazing clients that have been ecstatic. You wouldn't even be able to do it, right? Anita would be here until next year. You wouldn't hit your 20 million because you're busy writing down all the houses you sold. You haven't done anything else, right? But that's a good thing. Same for you, Melanie, because it's so easy to go into lack. So these little exercises of, at the beginning when I first started to launch, every day I'd have to write down all of the times I've been successful, because I would lose my belief and I would get so freaked out. Brilliant. I'm processing this at the moment, and it's taught me, yes, and given me so much. Exactly that. I just wrote all the reasons why I can sell 20 million easily this year. I have the potential to be halfway there, and it's not even January. Exactly. Anita, it's like for you, I think there's like, I really feel your next level is an ownership of how much of a badass you are. Like, I think like, like, I really think that's like 20 million for you. It's fucking nothing. You did 15 million last year and you started a new business. Like, you've been in this business for, did you say 15 years or it's much longer? 20, a million per year.
Yeah, I think it's 20 years. Oh, 20 years.
20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like you've
Remember, I'm the elder. I had to say
yeah.
it.
Yeah. I do remember you're the elder. Melanie, you'll be delighted to know that Anita told us regularly how she was the elder and Clive was the youngest, and they were the sandwich to the group. That was something
I heard. Oh, I
Oh,
heard.
you heard already. Oh,
When you come in December, Melanie will be the elder, though.
does that make you feel better?
It feels good.
And I'm just in the middle because Clive is 19, right? So I've not got an exciting age. I've always thought I either want to be very, very tall or very, very short. I always like to be one end of the extreme. Oh, lovely. See, this is why I don't, this, look at that hat. That must mean that it's cold.
It's freezing. It's 15. No, now it's 18. 18 degrees. 18.
It's different
18,
for us.
Hannah.
But it's beyond frozen, right? Lower than frozen. Yeah. We just keep getting Melanie ahead of here. Yeah.
It's frozen. It's frozen. Frozen.
Oh dear. Okay. So, Gudrun, do you feel your question's answered? Does anyone else have another question for me? Have I missed a question?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. One last thing. What you go about the negative people around you? When people constantly say, "Oh, I can't afford this. This is too expensive. Look at the price." Constantly, everyone around seems to be broken or not having the mindset, and it's. In my mind, I have money and it's working and blah blah, but constantly you hear, "Oh, this is too expensive. How you gonna afford this?" Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And it getting somehow to me in a way. It's like, even though I'm blocking it, it's still like try to stick on me. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does completely make sense. So two things. Oh, could you? Amazing. So two things. First thing is that like who I spend time with has changed, and I didn't want to. I really resisted that. Like I had a coach, Hina Khan, and she would do, and I love her, and she's brilliant. And she would do these trainings called "Are Your Friends Keeping You Broke?" And it made me so angry, and I really didn't want to accept it. And I've been one of these people that's like, I will drag everyone around me up with me. And I've learned that that is a very ineffective, kind of selfish from my place as well, because it's like how I think things should be. So the way that I do friendships now is that I have like 3 rings of intimacy. I've got very, very close people, which is my dogs, my partner, my sister. She makes the cut, fortunately for her. My father. And then there's like a handful of friendships that are very expansive. So, for example, one of the reasons that I'm moving to Dubai, Gudrun, is because, I was actually just speaking to my coach this morning, and the friendships that I've got there that have now spanned a few years are very, very expansive, and they're steps ahead of me, which I'm obsessed with, right? It's like, it makes me so excited. So in my inner circle, I am cautious. I didn't used to be, I am now. And then I've got different levels. So, the second level could be people that I get on with really, really well, well, not maybe two reallys, really well, but I know that it's not helpful for me to have too much contact. So that could be friendships that are good or they're long term, they've been there for a long time, but I know that if I was with them all of the time, I would feel that decrease. And I'm not willing to sacrifice that anymore. That is an age for me to say, but I am actually not willing. And then I've got people that are very periphery, and those are people that I've on purpose stepped back from. It's not that the relationship, it's blown up, there's no big drama. I've very, very little interest in maintaining those relationships. And so that's something that I've had to do, because to begin with, one of the biggest problems that I've struggled with is naivety. And like, it's a bit embarrassing to admit that, but I'm extremely naive. I have been, I'm not anymore. Actually, I wouldn't fuck with me anymore, to be honest, because I've got a whole side that I've discovered, but I've been extremely naive. So losing that innocence has been helpful, and I've unfortunately lost it via unfortunate sequences of events. You don't need to have the experience to learn the lesson, but sometimes we do need to have the experience of being around the wrong people and experiencing potentially a decrease. Then what I would say is everyone is going to have limits. So now we've understood that there are like categories of people, of intimacy in our life. Then we have to understand that we have to have internal limits, because you can't control everybody, right? For example, my sister is not an entrepreneur. She's a legend, but she's not an entrepreneur. Like, she thinks the idea of moving to Dubai is absolutely terrible and she hates it and she would never want to do it. And she's not quiet, my sister. We both come from Spanish heritage, AKA big gobs. So the big butts, big mouths, that's what it means to be Spanish. So there's a level of, in my head, she'll be like, I don't understand why you want to move, Hannah. And what I say in my mind is, for you, for you, for you, for you. So I see people's opinions and I deflect them off. And I'll say that. Another thing is, when you're online, a lot of people have opinions about what you do. And when you're a leader, the most fun thing about leadership is that everyone that is not the leader tends to think that they can do it better. Like, it's one of those things. It's like when you've got the CEO or you've got a leader of anything, it's a human response to criticize people in power, right? Or leading or healing or running things. So I've kind of got used to a level of backlash, and it's the same thing in the fact that you don't make it about you. I almost see myself as like impenetrable. It's like everything that comes in bounces back. And I'll say to myself things like, return to sender. That's true for you and it's not true for me. I used to, if people came to me with a massive projection, which they have done before, like one of my girlfriends, we went for carrot cake, which, by the way, I fucking love carrot cake. Went for carrot cake before Morocco, just to let you all know. And that was our experience together. And we sat at the table and she goes, oh yeah, because she knew me from Instagram before we met and we became friends. She became my Pilates teacher. She goes, oh, 2 years ago, I thought that you were all of these things. And it's like, maybe you were showing up on social media differently. And I said to her, and before I would have just taken her, you know, her criticism about the wealth, I would have taken her criticism about this stuff. She might be watching this. Hi, darling, love you. And I would have said, okay, she must be right. Maybe I was wrong 2 years ago on social media. Maybe I was too flashy. Maybe I was. And I just said to her, darling, I think that's your stuff. And she paused for a second and she went, oh yeah, that was definitely my stuff. And I know that sounds like such a small thing, but that could create like friction in a relationship. But just having the internal certainty of saying, actually, I'm not accepting that. I was pretty much like, do you know what I mean? I'm just as flashy, if not more now. You just know me in person. You decided that you liked me. And before, you just projected on an image because you didn't know me personally and you decided what you thought that image meant. So wealth is one of those things. There are different topics that create massive reactions in people. Wealth, sex, what else do you think creates it? Wealth, sex, death, maybe that's fair. That have these massive, like, you know, energetic fields around them, and they really activate people. And so when you start building a business, when you start building money, when you start being in relationship to money and business and wealth, it's normal that people will have viewpoints about it, but you just have to remember it's not personal. So number one, decide how close a relationship is helpful to you. If you've got someone that you see every single time you see and all they do is complain about how shit life is and how hard life is, you are either allowed to practice changing that relationship during, right? So trying to shift the conversation or to create, you know, distance, or you're allowed, if you can, to have the conversations and in your mind say, for you, return to sender. And most people, you know, like I said to my friend, I think that's your projection. A lot of people will take a second and actually go, oh, yeah, maybe you're right. Not my father, but most people, that's a joke, but it's also not a joke. Most people will take that thing, because I think human nature is to want connection and intimacy. I think that we're wired that way. Another final thing that you can play with is just notice your belief systems around people, because we're always mirrored back to us what we believe. So if we believe that people are judging money, judging us, you know, all of these things, don't accept us, then that's what we're going to get. And I used to think that. I used to think, oh, people are judging me and because it was the feedback that I got. So I started thinking from it, right? And then I remembered I have to think from where I want to be. And where I want to be is to be loved and to be accepted, basically. So then I started thinking from I'm loved and I'm accepted, and things dramatically changed for me. So just remember, your I am statement is basically what you create in your reality. And so I am that people love and accept me. I am that even if I'm different, I'm accepted. I am that I inspire those around me. I am that people love to see my financial journey and just see possibilities for themselves, right? Those are thoughts that you can start practicing, and you're going to start to see a shift in either the people that are naturally disappear because they no longer fit that bandwidth and resonance, right? Or you're going to start seeing people suddenly shift how they respond to you. And the final thing on this is remembering that as a bare minimum human standard, we all deserve supportive human friendships and relationships. I learned that last year.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Who else learned recently that they are, as a human minimum base standard, allowed good relationships after years and years of tolerating not so good relationships? Does anyone? I feel like that was a massive revelation for me. Oh my God, yes. I, as a minimum bare standard, deserve, it's not even about deservingness, like I'm allowed to only accept relationships that are healthy for me. I don't have to tolerate shit because I want to be good and perceived as nice, right? Like, whoa, we should have learned that one at primary school, right? Someone should have fucking taught us that at primary school. This is a late, long lesson to learn. But, you know, even with my sister, it's interesting because we've not been very conflictive, my sister, but, you know, your sister is very often a reflection of your relationship with the feminine, right? But, you know, my sister is very different to me. She doesn't want to have a business. She doesn't want to have, she just doesn't, and she's happy doing it, right? The more that I've accepted her for who she is, it's like the more that she naturally accepts me for who I am. And this is really, really powerful, because when we want other people to be different, we attract people that want us to be different. And so I think family relationships are good ones that we get to practice this on, because I'm not going to say to my sister, I mean, you know, you're on the third line out. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine? My sister would show up at my house every day until I was allowed back into the inner circle. That would not be working in my family. and I wouldn't do that, obviously. So I like family relationships. Obviously, if there's something very, very, very toxic, then it's a different conversation, and that's not the conversation that we're having. Cool. Hi, Christina. Thank you for making it on today. Do we have any more questions that people want to ask? Anita, do you feel like your question was answered? You feel free to unmute.
What was my question?
You talked about account going down and feeling.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it's more just I get the concept. It's just holding it, right? So I've been doing if I wake up in the middle of the night listening to Joe Dispenza just to kind of hold that frequency, because I can break it down and be like, oh, we got a new car, like all these wonderful things. So rationally, I get it. It's just not going back to that pattern of, scrappiness.
And guilt on spending. I think this is such a.
Yeah, I mean, I can rationalize spending with the best of them, sadly. But yeah, that too. There's an inner guilt about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, or that it's wrong for an account to go down. But why is it wrong for an account to go down? Like if you buy a home, an account's going to go down, right? So we feel that there are things that are acceptable to spend money on, and this is actually a little tangent that I can speak to. Christina, I'm sorry it took you a second to find the Zoom link. It was in the reminder email, but maybe you didn't find it. But if you've got a question, Christina, that you want to throw into the chat, there is absolutely time for it. About the holding it, first piece of advice, did I send you, Anita, Subliminals? So if you go to her, she's called High Vibe Guru, which makes me laugh.
Okay, that thing, it does make me a little dizzy. Like it's kind of crazy when you put the headphones on, the way it goes from ear to ear. I feel like I'm on a boat. Rocket.
Yeah, but like that's the point. And it's like you might have nightmares as well. So I only play them to sleep.
Right. I rarely remember my dreams, and I've been listening to it, and I haven't had any change in that. But it is interesting just how you feel it going from right to left in your brain when you listen to it.
Yeah. So what it's doing is that and you can read the explanation of subliminals, but it's burying the affirmations under sound. Like, you know how in RRT we do the not nightmares for the subliminals. Thank you, Melanie. I'll send it in where will I put it? I'll send it to you personally, Melanie. So the reason that I like it, it's like, RRT when we do the belief change stuff and we do the counting to reprogram the subconscious mind because it goes straight in. And when you do the counting, it sometimes feels like you're doing it wrong because it's confusing. It's exactly the same with subliminals. And so I play them. I mean, you might prefer Joe Dispenza, and that's amazing. I like to play them as I sleep because there's some really interesting ones like my perfect life exists now. And so it's really bringing it into the now moment. And I'm finding it easier to hold when I'm listening to these things at night. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's like, just notice your triggers for like failure. Notice your triggers for a failure gauge, as in, what triggers the feeling of it's taking too long? Just notice that, because this is an interesting thing. It could be I get to the end of the month and I thought I should be somewhere different, and that triggers failure. It could be that you look at your bank account and that triggers, just look at and you can write it down on a piece of paper, right? What triggers the feeling to go? What triggers, because when we talk about holding it, it's usually easy to hold it. And I hope you've got an alarm on your phone, Anita, for boomerangs, because we're still boomeranging over here. And I'll explain that to everyone here. That's something that we did. Pete, Christina, if you want to throw a question into the chat, that would be awesome. If you could write the question, that would be brilliant whilst I respond to this. So for boomerangs, for everyone, what I do is on my phone, talking about holding the frequency or the new reality before it's happened. On my phone, every hour to 2 hours, I've got an alarm. It's a horrible alarm. I need to change it to something nicer. But basically, that just reminds me, be aware of what you're thinking. It's so hard because when you're working or you're doing something, the least thing that you want to do is changing state. And this is why people say like just change state, or, you know, thought discipline is the hardest bit of this work, right? Because it's actually, you know, when you're building business this way, it's more easeful. I'm not saying it's completely easy and you don't have to do anything, because you do, but it's more easeful. So, oh, boom. Clive and I've been doing our boomerangs daily. I'll switch out to hourly. Amazing. I love that for you and Clive. Because in Morocco, my alarms would go off and then at the end, we all started boomeranging. And so when I say boomerangs, what I mean is that vibrationally, we're always sending out signals. We're just unaware of it, right? So when you're stressed at your computer thinking about, I'm never going to finish this and nothing's ever going to close and I've not got enough money and I wish I was further ahead, it's like you're sending out vibrational boomerangs. And so what happens to the boomerang is that it always comes back, right? So when we experience lack, when we experience things in our reality, it's just showing us that we've been a little bit sloppy with our vibration. That's it. But it's not a big fucking deal, because life is not actually that fucking serious. So, you know, with the intentionality of every hour, every 2 hours, I will pause and I will think to myself, oh, what boomerangs am I sending out right now? Do I want to receive them? No. Let me change that. Or it could be, because you've been practicing a lot, yes, this is an amazing boomerang, sign me up to receive this back, right? And then I will consciously send out feeling. So I will consciously practice a vibration, which is basically a feeling, and I'll constantly practice feeling as if I have the things that I want. And so what's really interesting is when you do this repetitively, and let's say you've got $1 million target, a 6-figure target, you know, an 8-figure target, what's going to happen is that you practice the vibration so often that when it happens, it's no longer exciting because you've been living it. So it's like it lands and you're like, duh. I've been literally feeling this for the last 6 months. There's no distinction. Like, of course it would happen. And so when we're trying to manifest something, and this is an interesting gauge for all of you guys, when we're trying to manifest something and it feels really exciting to receive it, and it feels like a really big deal, that's showing that there's vibrational separation. Because when it's close in vibration, it feels like, duh, it's my next logical step. And so things like this practiced vibration throughout the day can be so, so powerful, because you're practicing the state of being that's being a match, right? So yes, Anita, boomerangs, to just get aware of what you're thinking, what you're sending out, the alarms regularly, that through the night, and just check where your triggers are, where it feels like you've dropped it. Write those down and come up with a plan to combat them, because then literally nothing can stop you, because you know what your triggers are and you know what your work is. I'm going to fucking do this. What a great task that's just come through. I've never done this, but I'm like this, you know, sometimes I do these calls and things come through and I'm like, this is not from me, just so you know. I'm going to do this for myself afterwards. I'm going to do this for my human self. Okay, what we got here from Melanie. In Morocco last year, you said to me, what if it's all here and it's just, and all that, and it has allowed me to just allow it? Yes. In that moment when I manifested the 5-figure sale, within hours, I heard something a coach once said to me, more no's than ever. And I thought of you. And then I started to flow into what I wanted people to say to me. In 2 hours, people walked in and said the exact words I said. There you go. See, it's a confirmation. You literally boomeranged that out. How fun. I'm sitting in that and increasing my ability to hold it happening like popcorn, 100%. And it happening like popcorn because, Melanie, you have had a pattern of the big sale comes in and you kind of cycle feast to famine, and then you get frightened like the next one's not going to come in. But this is your normal because you've nailed this. And it's really interesting. You've got to listen to what coaches say, because sometimes, right, it's well-meaning, but it's actually a programming that you don't want. More no's than ever. Why do you want to manifest more no's than ever, right? Like, you're in the feeling of yeses and the no's, okay, cool. But sometimes if we're saying more no's than ever, what are you going to get? Just lots and lots of no's, right? That's not the frequency that we want to be in. And so this is why the alarm is really helpful, because you get to, that's what I thought when I heard his voice. Yeah, that's why the alarm, and we've all got things that we say that aren't helpful, me included, right? Like, we all, and this is why, again, being in these communities is really helpful, because we get to notice this together. You know, I told you guys about when I could only have 6 figures in savings. And I couldn't, however much money I was making, I couldn't retain more. And I was so annoyed. And I was like, well, maybe I need to have a better Excel sheet. Maybe I need to track my numbers more. Maybe I need to guilt and shame myself for all of the skirts and dresses I bought. Maybe I need to downgrade my lifestyle. Maybe I need to, I don't know, you know. And then I realized, you know, when I was trying to manifest 6 figures in savings, I would always say, I never go under 6 figures in savings. And so that programming became a ceiling. And then I started saying, I never go into multi 6 figures in savings. Boom, my income did not change, but within a couple of months, my savings doubled. So tiny things that we say to ourselves sometimes to get to the next level then become invalid to go to the level after that, which is why it's a game of awareness. It's almost like mental and emotional chess, right? Okay, do I have any other questions? Hey, Christina, you've not asked anything. Did you just come to listen, or do you have a question that you'd like answered? I don't have a question. Perfect. No problem. Amazing. And so I'll just start closing up. I'm not sure if Pete, you've got a question. I think you look like you're typing maybe. And so whilst you're writing, don't worry, I will start talking about the certification. This is actually a very helpful little break for me. So I know lots of you guys are interested in the certification. Gudrun mentioned it just as we got onto this call. God, didn't I sound posh in English there? Sometimes it just comes out to me and I'm like, what, Hannah? Can tell I went to a school with a uniform and a blazer. What was I going to say? That's not about the certification. So the certification is beginning the 1st of January. We need the enrollments in by the 30th of December. Okay. So 30th in December, if you wanted to enroll, we need the application in latest then. Obviously, it would be ideal if you got it in earlier, because then I'm not reviewing a bazillion applications on the 30th of December, bearing in mind we've got a couple of weeks to then. That would be really fantastic. Once you fill in your application, all you need to do is send it off. We'll review it within 24 hours to 48 hours, and we'll get in touch with either a payment link if you're approved, a call with me, and we actually ask you in your application form, would you like a call with me? Because I know the certification for you guys isn't just an investment in money, it's an investment in your time, right? And you want to make sure that it's the right thing for you. So because of that, I am going to be hopping on calls with people. If you also want to ask about a call, you can message me on social media. Just remember, your bonuses end on the 24th of December. So if you want to get your application in before the end of before the 24th of December, you get all of the bonuses. And that is literally all of the business training that you need to make your first million. Like, everything is there. It is repeatable structures externally and internally. It is tried. It is tested. It works. Okay. We even updated it this year. I think the top up this year is some fabulous work, because apparently I decided to turn up very Spanish, which means extremely direct. You will be clear on what to do. Like, you will be clear on what to do, frequency wise and business wise. Okay. The certification page has got all of the details, but if you guys have got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Again, I know that this is a decision for your life. It's not just a financial thing, and you want to make sure that it's the right thing for you. So please know, email, fine. Instagram, fine. Facebook, fine. We'll be on all of the inboxes until the 24th, or really until the 30th. Let me just check the chat. Sorry, I missed your course and have only just managed to join. You are all good. We'll try and catch up via YouTube. So, Pete, are you in the Facebook group? No. That's fine. We've got all of the replays on YouTube. So you will have got an email that's got the YouTube links, but also you can just type into YouTube Hannah Bartlett, Jana, $1 Million Healer, and they will come up. And so you'll have all of the replays there, including today. Today was just a Q&A session, and you've got all the replays, you know, prior to that, which were Facebook Lives. So are you a healer? Are you working in that world as well? Feel free to unmute.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, it's something I'm planning to. I've had various incidents of sort of channeling and so forth the last few years, and it's time to use my intuitive brain rather than practical things, physical skills.
Okay, that's very exciting. Okay, you'll find $1 Million Healer interesting because we do go into that. So it's a new project for you then, this really.
Yes.
Okay, amazing. Do I have you on social media anywhere, or is it via email you've got us?
Just via email.
Okay, brilliant. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out via email. Actually, if you drop your email here, what I'll do is I'll send you the YouTube links to make sure that you've got them. If you can just put your email in the chat, that will be amazing. And I'm sure, I know actually everyone else has got the replays. Brilliant. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Fellow Brit, Pete, correct?
Yep.
Amazing.
Based in Oxford, England.
Oxford, brilliant. Okay, well, if I've not got any more questions, guys, I've loved spending this time with you. Tomorrow, we've got another Zoom and it's $1 Million Next Step. So I'm going to really share the ways that we can continue working together. And I'm going to go into the offers with more detail. Obviously, today I've kind of just brushed over the certification. So you've got a little bit of an idea. And obviously on Friday, I talked about the certification, but I know lots of you guys have got practical questions like how many sessions, where is it, you know, all of those things. What is the in-person experience? What modalities are you teaching? What are you leaving with, right? Because our certification is the world's leading multi-dimensional certification, meaning that we teach multiple dimensions of business and we teach multiple dimensions of healing modalities. So I'm actually going to spend the time properly explaining that tomorrow to do it justice so you guys can see what you actually get for it. Because the number one thing we get when people join that have, you know, we get a lot of people that have done a lot of courses before. We get a lot of people like Gudrun that have done like, you know, Tony Robbins, or they've done, who else did you say that you'd worked with? But anyway, these Bob Proctor, these kind of style of mindset people, and they're looking for something a little bit deeper, right? So I really want to explain the distinction in the modalities that we do and mindset. I love mindset. I always say this to you guys. I love all of the modalities. They serve a place, but we want to understand how they all work together, right? And how that's going to lead to more effective, long-lasting results. Because we don't just want those quick dopamine hits. We actually want transformation. Even though transformation is a word that's overused, it is actually a thing. And transformation is basically when there is a cellular biological shift in someone physically or energetically. There has to have been a change for it to be called transformation. Okay, well, I've loved this. Thank you everyone for coming. AKA miracles of the self, exactly. We love that. There is a science to miracles, and miracles are a reality. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you, Pete, and hearing how you go with those trainings. Okay, brilliant. Thank you, everyone. Ciao, ciao.